Hey everybody, Tim Miller with the Bulwark here with our publisher Sarah Longwell. We've got some breaking news. Trump has apparently via social media just announced that he is firing the Commissioner of Labor Statistics because the job numbers are so bad. That's how bad the job numbers are this month. Me and Sarah are going to get into the details of that jobs report, but we got to at least start with this breaking news. This literally just sent to me right before we started taping. Here it is, Donald Trump's bleat. I was just informed that our country's jobs numbers, in quotes, so I guess giving scare quotes to government statistics now, are being produced by a Biden appointee, Dr. Erica McIntyre. Sorry if I mispronounced that. The Commissioner of Labor Statistics, who faked the jobs numbers before the election to try and boost Kamala's chances of victory. Then a bunch of blah, blah, blah. He writes, "We need accurate jobs numbers. I've directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately. She'll be replaced with someone much more competent and qualified." Oh, I'm sure. Important numbers like this must be fair and accurate. The current jobs report said there were only 73,000 jobs added. He writes, "A shock." And then he writes, but more importantly, that a major mistake was made, and they revised 258,000 jobs downward in the prior 2 months. He goes on to let you know that the economy is booming, all caps, under Trump. And then on the way out, he throws a quick shiv at Jerome Powell, writing, Jerome, quote, "Too late, Powell should also be put, quote, out to pasture. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Wow. A lot there, Sarah. Take it whichever place you'd like to go.
All right. First of all, I just want people to understand, this is genuinely nuts. Here's what he's doing. He is firing the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because he doesn't like that they are reporting on the statistics about the bad job he's doing on the economy, right? So he has made choices. The labor market has slowed in a very serious way. And two things are in this job report that are kind of gobsmacking. So the first is how much they missed for the month of July, what they had hoped, right? The estimate had been that they would add about 110, 115,000 jobs. Instead, it was 73,000. That's a big miss, way lower than they were hoping. But even worse, the biggest thing that happened is then they went back to June and May, and they revised the number of jobs down by almost 250,000, which meant that in those 2 months, when the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out with their jobs reports, they had wildly overestimated them. Now, here's the thing we don't know. We don't know why that happened. That is a mystery, but they were putting a much more favorable sheen on the slowing economy. And so people are looking at those job numbers from May and June and saying, these are pretty good. This is pretty steady, good growth, on track for what they were anticipating. But no, they've revised them way down. Okay, so if the labor market is slowing, it is likely because of the tariffs, because of inflation, because of a bunch of policies of Donald Trump's own making, the uncertainty around the tariffs. And so he's firing this person just for reporting the statistics accurately. That's it. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I want to go deeper with you on the actual jobs numbers in a second, but let's just stick on this firing for 1 second. Also, again, always Trump lives in these gray areas where he totally breaks the norms, and he does things that gives his people a talking point that they can talk about, right? The idea this is a Biden appointee. You can understand how people might think, well, okay, new administrations should be able to get their appointees in various jobs throughout the administration, but that is not what's happening here. It's not Trump came in and said, okay, across a number of these agencies, they're Biden appointees, they're political appointees, we want to replace them with Trump people. Okay. That's not what he did. What he did, as you said, is he is targeting a single person, firing them because they reported the truth.
Yes.
That's where we're at.
Right.
He is firing a government employee for accurately providing data to the American people. This sort of data is important for, a variety of different things. It's important for the Fed. We'll get to Jerome Powell in a second as they decide what to do with interest rates. It's important, it's similar to what we're seeing with the National Weather Service. And we have a lot of worries about this down in the Gulf Coast right now about are we going to be getting as accurate hurricane warnings as we used to because they fired a bunch of people. So it matters that we can trust our federal government to put out data that is reliable. And what Donald Trump has done by firing this woman for putting out reliable info is he's basically saying, yeah, you can't trust the federal government. we are essentially 1980s Moscow, like around Chernobyl, and like people are gonna put out whatever necessary to keep me happy. And so even if he does replace this person with a serious right-wing person, which who the hell knows, right? How could you even try, right? Like it brings into doubt the future data that's coming out of this administration, because it's like, well, okay, clearly they're going to make personnel choices and only reward people who either cook the books or only put out things that look good for the administration.
Yeah, and like, this is not, she didn't go and single-handedly put some thumb on the scale that's like, make Donald Trump's jobs numbers look bad. Like, that, I'm not, it is unclear to me why they were so off before. There could have been some major delay in reporting. I mean, they use payroll from these companies to figure out this. And so, you know,
this is look, I've been back when I was at the RNC in 2012, it was my job to put out the statement around jobs report week. This has been happening since the before Trump times, right? It's like, you know, there's error in this sort of thing. And the interesting thing about this error is, like, the revision down actually matches what people expected. Like, there was this whole discourse going on like the last 2 weeks among economists. They're like, why is the economy better than we think it should be? Like, when you look underneath, you know, when I've interviewed economy experts, like when you look at underneath the hood, you know, I forget, I think it was Joe Weisenthal I was interviewing. And he's like, if you look at the Dallas Fed report, and this is just, you know, the local Fed for that region, and they interview the local business owners and like, what are you seeing? And like, all the anecdotes are horrible. Like, you know, he's like, you'd think we were in a recession looking at the Fed report. How does that match the jobs report? Right. So this was kind of a thing in economic dork circles for a while. And it seems to me really that, you know, it's just like anything else, just like the Ann Seltzer poll. Like, sometimes there's errors in statistics, and like you get more data and you update the data and you look back in. And now it really, this is why he's so pissed. Like, the truth has come in line, like the data has come in line with what kind of people were seeing and expecting out in the world. Anyway,
that's right.
Sorry to cut you off.
Well, no. I think that's right. I mean, this is actually the biggest revision, though, since 1979, with one exception, which was April of 2020, where they also had a big miss, right? Because that's COVID. But other than that, like, it is actually a really big step back, a really big revision. And so it's unclear why that happened. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people with questions. But to your point, the revisions are much more in line with what everybody was expecting based on what we're seeing. Like, the idea that the labor market would be thriving in an environment where Donald Trump is making it impossible for anybody to plan anything. Like, the idea that you're going to shift the entire American manufacturing economy over the next 50 years when the guy changes his mind every day and people are going to invest in that, like, that never made sense. And so even me, not an economist, not even very good at math, has been sort of like, why are the jobs numbers so good? Like, what is going on here? And so, but the thing is like, when the revisions are down to like 14,000, like we added 14,000 jobs in June, 19,000 jobs in May, it might be reversed, but like really, really low numbers. Now, those are real markers of recession type labor market.
Absolutely. And just so before we just move in, because there are a couple of things I want to talk about the actual jobs numbers. Do you have anything else just on kind of the chilling nature of this firing and what he said about Powell? I mean, saying the same at Powell at the end about putting him out to pasture. Quote.
So I was watching a clip of Fox Business when the job numbers came in, and Maria Bartiromo and like the assembled crowd.
Actually, let's
play it.
73,000 jobs. 73,000 jobs created in the month of July. Number just coming out.
And that's total.
4.2% is the unemployment rate, right in line with expectations. Here are the numbers. For the month of July, jobs came in at 73,000. That was lower than the expectation, which called for 110,000 jobs. The unemployment rate right in step with expectations at 4.2%.
Well, there you go. So, the faces tell all there.
But what they want to do is immediately pivot to the idea that it is Jerome Powell's fault for not lowering interest rates. I don't think interest rates have that much to do with the labor market. Like, I don't understand how lowering interest rates was going to necessarily help this jobs report.
In a broader sense, the idea is if you know the economy is slowing, and you don't have the inflation issues from tariffs, you do want to lower interest rates because it's like, in theory, this means that, businesses are going to take more risk, and, because they know that they can, right, like get lower rates on their debt. It's, instead of if you're going to build a new factory or whatever, it's not going to cost as much. Right. So it's like, that's the theory, but like, I mean, it doesn't. It just like doesn't happen in a snap like that. And part of the reason why that Jerome Powell wasn't doing it was because the months looked good, and Maria Bartiromo and all the other people on Fox were like talking about how great the golden age it was, right? So it's like, you're not going to lower rates if it were in the golden age. So anyway, and I think that their like reaction there. It's pretty telling about how bad it is. And I don't know. The Powell thing is chilling. I keep going back to the economic experts I talk to, and it's like, they think it's a worst case scenario. And I just want to draw one more parallel here about why this matters beyond just the fact that it's unfair to this woman and that it's, just kind of soft authoritarian nonsense. It matters because it's like, if you can't trust the data coming out of the government, all right, and then if you were to fire Powell, and you can't trust that the Fed is actually independent anymore, then you can't like trust the fundamental basis of the economy, right? Like part of the reason why our economy is better than Argentina's or in other places around the world is because people feel like America's a safe harbor. They can invest, and like the institutions are strong, and etc. Like that framework starts to break down. And to me, that is the most like chilling thing about this firing, is that like it's like it's one thing, it's one data point, but it's a point towards like total, kind of, I don't know, banana republic area on economic stuff.
And here's the thing. So here's what's most chilling to me. We have seen Donald Trump politicize things that are not typically politicized in the way that he's politicizing them. So that's the attorney general, that's the FBI director, the deputy FBI director. There's just a ton of things that Donald Trump is politicizing, but they do like have some political roles, right? Like normally, like the FBI director is meant to span things, but like it's just a little grayer. Donald Trump is now moving into politicized things that really are not politicized in our government.
Labor statistics.
This is not where you get to go in and mess around. Like nobody cares the only reason Biden appointed that person is because that was like the term was up, like these are, and it's not like a single person. There's a whole apparatus there. There's not just one person who's mucking with the numbers. It's insane to fire someone. So anyway, but the politicizing of things that are heretofore entirely apolitical is part of what's scary too.
Yeah. All right, just really quick, a couple other things in the jobs numbers. Because I literally, like my dad's a finance guy, so I was literally having this conversation with him 2 days ago. I landed in Denver, and I'm like, what do you make of what's happening? And he's like, well, I don't know. He's like, maybe everything's being held up by, or everything's being kind of propped up by all this investment that's going into AI, right? Like all these data centers are getting built, and it's sort of masking, and that, if you like look at the data, and I was kind of reading a lot of the economic Smarties this morning, that like feels kind of right. Like the jobs right now in this economy are basically, there's a bunch of gains in jobs in healthcare. That might be going away.
The boomers are getting sick, and they're cutting it, with Medicaid.
So that might be going away. But so for at least for last month, there were job gains in healthcare. There were job gains in like also similar, basically elder care, social services, like this kind of stuff. And then there were not really job gains, but like if you look at some of the other data that was put out, like economic activity gains in these data centers and AI and all that stuff that's being built by big tech. And that's like it. Like, and besides that, like this economy's in a recession. Like you're losing jobs basically in every other sector. And I mean, that to me, that like is a sign of quite a weak economy that's hard to that feels more than just like a blip. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong.
I mean, I don't think we know, and I don't think we will know until we get I do. We're doing breaking news because this is a big story, not just the jobs numbers, the revisions, and then the firing over the revisions. Like this is a bigger deal than however big a deal you think it is. It's a bigger deal.
Yeah, right. It's not just from one random month where it's like, it goes up, it goes down. Like,
that's
there's some real bad signs here, fundamentals about the economy, I guess is my point. And also like some really scary signs about just like the authoritarian creep.
Well, you think about Donald Trump and how the economy's always been his strongest suit. And in fact, he was elected. I mean, people held their nose, some groups of people. There's people who obviously like him because of all of his moral failings. But for a lot of people, they overlook the moral failings. And I hear this in focus groups all the time. He's a businessman. I liked the economy back before COVID, when he was running it. And I just think he's going to lower costs. So Trump's entire stake, but he's currently minus 12.4%. Like, he's way underwater on his handling of the economy with voters. That's according to Nate Silver's aggregator. And so he will do anything to protect the idea that he is the man who can handle this economy. He's already doing poorly. So he's the one who's got everything to lose on these numbers. And if we do slide into a recession, a Trump session, he knows that's what cooks him. More than anything
but
else.
also, I guess I agree with all that. Although the one thing I would add to that is he knows that's what could cook him. He also knows that he's been pretty successful in gaslighting people and telling them that bad things are actually good. And to me, this firing at labor statistics is it isn't a January 6th level. It's not the Steele level, but it's kind of like it's the playbook. Right, what was he doing after he lost the election in 2020? Is doing everything possible to tell everybody, no, actually, I won. Up to and including the storming of the Capitol, right? And I think that will be what happens if the economy really continues to sour. Is potentially the Jerome Powell firing and potentially anything else, any other lever at his disposal to propagandize the public and try to tell them that not to believe their lying eyes and that the economy is actually good and it's just these bad people that are trying to sully the golden age.
Yeah, and here's the other thing I'll add to that, which is this is manufacturing lost in this jobs report. It lost 11,000 jobs. That's before these tariffs have really hit. Donald Trump is tacoing on tariffs as we speak. Last night, he did an executive order in the dead of night saying, I'm giving another 7-day thing, another 7 days for people to come and negotiate with me. Otherwise, we're doing the 15 to 40%, blanket tariffs. So these manufacturing jobs and the job losses are in there before the tariffs have really started to hit in a major way. Yeah. And so I do wonder what it's going to do to his tacoing on tariffs, because with jobs numbers like these and economy slowing like this, I'm not sure he can risk. I mean, the market's going down. I'm not going to use the market too much, but all the longer term trends are really going in the wrong direction.
All right. That's Sarah Longwell. We'll be back for more as we have any other breaking news and keep an eye on what else is happening from Donald Trump. Appreciate you guys. Subscribe to the feed. We'll see you soon.